Hey there, Kenneth French of Vast Voice, telling business secrets to entrepreneurs. We're very, very happy you stopped by. Either you're going to watch this or listen to this because you want to take your business to the next level. You're probably an entrepreneur who's either just starting out or you've been around for quite a while and you want to take your business to the next level. You're probably a real estate investor, maybe even a real estate agent, maybe a professional or of some sort, professional advisor of some sort. And well, you are stopping by because you need some valuable advice from one of the top industry leaders there is. Anyway, thank you very much. Once again, Kenneth French, Vast Voice, telling business secrets to entrepreneurs. Really glad you stopped by.
You were going to see a former dude from McKinsey, who was the marketing guy of all marketing guys, thinking his feet. He is going to help me with my business, and you're going to maybe be able to apply some of these concepts to your business. At the same time, who knows, maybe I'm going to help him on his business. He just doesn't know that yet. You ready, kid?
Let's do it. Sounds like we're taking care of business, Kenneth.
We are. Ladies and gentlemen, Jason Hackett from New York City, Mr. Studley himself. Jason, tell us a little bit about yourself and how Studley you are.
Hey, super Studley. Let's just leave it at that. I'm Jason Hackett. I am first and foremost a friend of our Kenneth French's, and relevant to why Kenneth thought it might be fun for us to talk today. I have been marketing location-based entertainment for the better part of 2 decades, and have been focused on guest experience alongside of that, most recently doing a stint at McKinsey, as now I branch out onto my own to figure out how I can be helping the rest of the world scale their businesses by delivering amazing customer experiences.
There you go. I can't think of anyone else who's better situated to now become an entrepreneur totally on your own and just rock it. And I'm serious when I say that. All right. So how about this? Give us one marketing expertise hint for someone who is let's say a solopreneur who wants to take it to the next level. I know that's a lot to ask, but I'm going to throw that out and then we're going to delve into a bunch of other things.
Yeah, I think if there's one thing I'd recommend to a solopreneur or really a Fortune 500, it's take the I out of the equation, right? I mean, Sam Walton said it best. We all have one boss, and that's the customer, and she can decide when to fire us from the top of the organization down to the bottom. So before thinking about what you can get from them, think about what you can give to them.
I like that. So as an example, now that we have a community here at vastsolutionsgroup.com, we have what we call the Vast Vault. It's a community of over 500 people who are paying anywhere from $0 to hopefully $199 a month. What you're saying is we should be concentrating on them versus what we are getting out of the equation.
Yeah, you need to look at the business benefit of the community as a dividend, not the intention. The intention has to be adding value back to the other members of the community at all times.
Yeah, I got it. All right. Give me one example. So we have obviously we have a Vastcast, which is just like a podcast. We have a number of person-to-person meetings over the webinars, if you will, called Vastcasts. So what's one way that we can do that in our world?
So I think when I look at the business that you're in and the community that you're building and sort of the breadth of it, it really comes down to 2 things. I think you asked for one, but let me give you extra value and give you 2. So the first is bringing useful news that your community can use to them on a regular basis. And I don't mean that on a clickbait basis, kind of where you're saying, you want to find a way to 10x your business and scale? Click here to learn more. And then you drop them into some series of forums where you're trying to get them to give you information. No, be like, here are 10 ways to 10x your business, right? And just put them out there, or whatever it is. And I think the other thing that's really vital in community is you're the only one that when you think about community as sort of both hub and spoke and peer-to-peer, but because you initiated the community and you have a relationship with all those members, you're the only real one who really knows how people can connect. So your ability to connect community member A with community member Z and say, hey, you two have a lot of things in common. Maybe there's business to be done there, maybe there's not, but I know you enjoy each other's company and have a lot of great things to talk about. It's inside of community, it's creating relevant connections for people that they may not see by themselves, or it may take them a long time to see them. And so you're helping to sort of tesseract that and bring people together more quickly.
And one way of figuring that out is by engagement. Now, that being said, we don't have that much engagement. It's a newer community. We don't have that much engagement. So again, we have 500 people. We have an app, which is pretty cool. Actually, over 500 people. Our buy-in is free. We have 99 people in that community, if you will, and then 590 in the paid community. And they get all of our information, exclusive access to all of our content, literally to everything, right? So, but we have no engagement. What are some thoughts about kind of increasing engagement as it relates to what you just mentioned?
So I think there are a couple ways to increase engagement, right? One is kind of brute force method, right? And what I mean by that is creating obvious tent poles that will draw people, creating honeypots, whether that's bringing in a big name speaker, right? If you want, I'll just make it up, right? But if you want to bring in a Tim Ferriss or something like that, that's going to get people's attention. That's expensive and not really scalable, but it is one way to get engagement. Another way to get engagement is to put meaningful questions, in an AMA sort of format out to the community, and on topics that are of interest to them, right? So, some of the things that I'm looking at in the world these days are, like all of us, the scaling of AI. But to me, the more interesting part of the scaling of AI, from only because it's my own personal interest, is what are the infrastructure needs that are driving that, right? Where are we with NVIDIA and the deployment of H100 chips? Where are we with liquid cooling? Where are we with data centers, the electrical infrastructure in the United States and abroad? So, finding an expert of bold-faced names, say, hey, I'm an electrical engineer from, PSE&G, from ERCOT, whatever, and saying, ask me anything about the grid, I'd sign up, right? And that's very niche. But I think that there are ways to craft broader topics. Talk to me about tax strategies under the new administration. Okay, that's broad. Anybody who runs a business is going to be curious about that, so they want to know about that. And I think the third way, and this is the most impactful, but it does take some work. It's impactful and it's scalable, which is giving members the opportunity to share their information, share their knowledge with others. So as opposed to you at Vast HQ pumping out to the people, invite key members of your community to come on, to talk about what they do, to answer questions, to be resources for each other. Because ultimately, community is about being resources for each other, right? It is not a one-to-many broadcast transmission model. It is the ultimate peer-to-peer transmission model.
Dude, you are wicked smart. That's exactly right. We're trying to, the things you've already mentioned, bringing in big name people. We have big name people. I mean, luckily, somehow I've gotten to know some big name people, and more importantly, they know me. So yeah, I mean, on the horizon is that to bring in even more big name people to the community, number one. And then number two, I think what you're saying is, going back to, I guess, the engagement, we need to provide more networking within our community. And I think that'll be kind of easy. We just haven't really done that yet because it's so new, but I think it'll be kind of easy because I think we have a lot of people who could be benefiting one another. And, what will happen is, instead of everything being worth $1 to everyone, it'll be worth $5 to everyone, because all our people, I think, are going to be able to communicate, get along, I hope, and then really grow with one another, because I think we have a lot of resources in our community, a lot of people who are, media studs or real estate investors, tax people. We have a lot of people who can equal a lot of benefits for everyone involved. I really believe that. So that's interesting.
No doubt.
I totally agree with you. It's really just the execution. By the way, before I forget, how does someone get a hold of you if someone does want to get a hold of you for your services, et cetera?
Sure. I'm super easy to get a hold of. You can find me at jason@hackett.nyc. We're going to throw that up there on the screen for you. And also I'm at LinkedIn, Jason Hackett, and at The Real Jason Hackett on Instagram.
And how do you spell Hackett?
HACKETT.NYC.
2 T's, got it, like it. Okay.
2 T's for the extra added value.
Yeah, and you are adding value. Okay, let's keep going on about me, because life's about me. No, just kidding. Because I think, really, I do think this is going to help some of the people who are out there. We have a lot of people who, obviously real estate investors, as I mentioned. We have a ton of real estate agents who I think are now starting to think about marketing more than they ever have from the feedback we're getting. So now thinking about a real estate agent, let's say it's a real estate agent making, I don't know, $300,000 a year. They've got a good business going on, but now they want to increase their market share. They want to get to maybe $600,000. What are some key things that they should think about with respect to marketing and, increasing their market share?
No, look, I think that real estate's something I've been involved with on and off for for a long time, right? Because all the business I've been doing has been location-based businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the challenge that a lot of real estate agents and real estate developers come up against is they get too caught up in thinking about the plot of land, thinking about the building. They want to talk about the stuff when ultimately, let's be honest, real estate is an enabling function. It is not the end all be all. It is the enabling function. So if I were giving any advice to a real estate agent, I'd be out there talking to them on the commercial side of things about thinking about their clients' businesses. What does the client need to do for their business? What is beyond square footage? They need 5,000, 10,000, 100,000 square feet. What is the client trying to get done with the business, and how can real estate be an enabler for that? Not only about the location and the specifics of the parcel and the property, but how can a thoughtful real estate strategy help them accelerate their business while minimizing costs, right? Like, real estate for any business, whether it's a lease or an own, is the single biggest albatross on the P&L, right? It is the hardest thing to get out of. It is the thing that, if it's not thought about thoughtfully, can crush a business, no matter how good it is on an operating basis. So as a commercial real estate agent, I want to think about the client's business, and I would rather serve them in small ways multiple times than try to make that one big sale one time, because I think you'll have a better partnership. On the residential side of things, I think residential real estate generally tends to be a little bit better in this regard, but thinking about the family's needs or the individual's needs, like what are they needing to do? What type of life do they want to live? Do they really need 5,000 square feet in a prime location, given who they are and what they want to live? Or maybe you should be showing them 3,000 square feet in a good but not platinum location, because it gives them the opportunity to do more with their kids for school or to take the trips that they want to do. It's one of my favorite anecdotes on the face of the planet ever is that story about the two bulls up at the top of the mountain, right? Young bull and an old bull.
Yeah.
And the young bull looks up at the old bull and he says, Hey, Dad, there are all those cows down in the valley. Let's go down and get us one. Run down there and get us one. The old bull just kind of looks at him and is like, No, son. Young bull's like, What? It's like, No, let's walk down there and get all of them.
Yeah.
And it's life is full of cliches for a reason. Go slow to go fast. So
I totally hear it. Just like you to come up with that analogy, that story. That was good. So, so let me ask this: we have a number of people who are actually real estate agents, in this case, agents who are thinking about starting communities, just like what we have at Vast Vault. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think for a real estate agent to do something like that makes sense, or do you think that might not be worth the work for a real estate agent in this example?
I'm going to say it's very market dependent and it's very timing dependent.
Yeah.
And what I mean by, let me start with the market piece first. If it's a market that is dense with agents, it's going to be hard, right? But look, we're all big kids. Business is hard. You don't get into it because it's easy. And they don't call it play; they call it work. But I think the other part of it is around first mover or second mover advantage. The number one driver in all marketing, and real estate especially, is word of mouth, right? And so if you as an agent can build a great community where your clients or prospective clients are talking to each other about the issues around real estate ownership, around leasing, that are relevant to them, and they can say, hey, my agent Jane had a really good idea about how to do apartment rentals and sort of acquiring multifamily homes. You should talk to her. That's the type of community you want building. People only have so much capacity to do that, though, which is why I say it's got to be first or second mover advantage, right? Like, just speaking personally, I'm probably a member of, I want to say, 3 dozen Reddit communities, right? And it's not that I don't have an interest in each one of the subreddits that I signed up for, but at the end of the day, I only have so much time to put into those. And I think the same is true of anybody participating in a community. If there's value in it, they're going to participate in it and be frequent participants. But if the communities start to get redundant, if you've got 10 real estate agents in a given territory and they all start communities, no one's going to get anywhere. So that gets to an actually interesting third point, that your agents might want to consider, which is think about the spirit of cooperation as opposed to competition. Yes, everyone wants to get a listing, everyone wants to sell, but ultimately they're going to make the decision about what agent to go with based on business decisions, but also the personal vibe, the relationship, right? So maybe your agents in specific markets are collaborating with each other on these communities. And look, cream rises to the top. And so agents who they collaborate together on the structure and the ownership, if you will, of the community, but each individual agent's participation in that community, the support that they bring to the members of that community, it's gonna show. And also, people do different things, right? People respond to different ways. So you and I co-owning a community, as an example, we might both be very active in it and be very supportive, but one group of people is going to relate to how I engage and the things that I have to say and my tone and my style. And conversely, another group of people is going to have more of an interest in how you deliver information and the things that you say. So I think thinking about it as a zero-sum game is where a lot of people go wrong. And community is about win-win to where the exponent is the number of your community members.
Yeah, that's a good point. So if you're, who knows, maybe if I'm not a real estate agent, but if I connect with another real estate agent in our town and we end up, bringing in a bunch of business that we wouldn't have brought in otherwise because we're working together, it might be making sense to be able to do something like that, bringing in a strategic alliance versus, fighting that person off as a foe.
Right. And I think transparency up front is really important. So just again, going back to the Kenner and Jason example, if we were real estate agents, it'd be like, look, we get our commissions, whatever they are, they're individual commissions, but we both agree that any referral lead that comes from the work in our community, we are going to take a point off of our commission and give it back to the other guy.
Yeah.
Or in a multiple ownership situation, it goes into a pot and people divide it up at the end of the year. Yeah. Right? Something really simple, really explicit, where there is shared compensation for everybody who is contributing, and no one feels like they're going to get screwed.
Yeah, plus it's greater for humanity, et cetera. I agree with that. So, all right. So you mentioned artificial intelligence, and we've been doing that, as I mentioned, since 2010, but 2018 is when we had our own model, and obviously we now still have our own model called Einstein. A lot of people are, saying SEO, search engine optimization, isn't as cool as, if you will, AEO, ask engine optimization. What are your thoughts about that? Because I'm a big believer in now, AEO. So what are your thoughts about that?
It's the natural evolution of search. I think that so I don't know about your habits with regard to search and AI, but I find myself, especially over, I'd say, the last 6 months, transitioning out of dropping any query I have into a Google search box into jumping into Claude or Perplexity or ChatGPT, right? And asking questions with more nuance and expectation of more detail than I was ever able to get out of Google, right? Like even an optimized Google search might give me a good list, but it still wasn't answering the question. As we know, the large LLMs are all doing that right now. They're answering the question. And yes, Google's doing things in the background. Bing is doing things in the background. So it's not like it's not like that intelligence is absent from those search, but people aren't going to them explicitly for that now.
Okay.
So back to your ask engine optimization, it is a great way to optimize. I think the big unknown is going to be around trust in the platforms and the extent to which these platforms will let you game the system that way. I mean, I think that there's already an amount of appropriate and healthy skepticism around hallucination and veracity of the content that's coming back from these queries. And so if I'm running Anthropic or OpenAI, Perplexity, I'm going to be extraordinarily cautious about letting my results be manipulated for all intents and purposes by people looking to direct traffic. And it is going to happen as the LLMs get better and responses get better and hallucinations are cut down to low single digit percentages of results. So like anything, one has to prepare and one has to start building those muscles now, but it's going to be a transition. It's not something that no one should decide that they're going to flip off their SEO program today and run over and push all their chips into the middle of the table on an AEO program. But like anything, you need to start a time and resource allocation process that maybe begins with 5% today and builds to 20% next year, and then maybe to 50% the year after that. You have to keep an eye on these. I'm making the numbers up just for illustration purposes. But build the muscle, track it, learn how it works, so that when it's time for you to be pushing 80% of your chips into the center of the table on AEO, you know what you're doing. You know what to ask for if you're looking for a third party to help you, and you can be running quickly as opposed to playing catch up.
You're totally right. Yeah, again, you're a smart dude. So what I would say to that is, that's just to build your ego, by the way. But what I would say is, I know we're ahead of the curve as far as AEO, because now, like as an example on our website, everything's more framed as AEO, meaning, question and answer, FAQ, etc. So it's kind of the new way of being found. But at the same time, I know we're probably not going to reap the rewards now, but I know down the road we will, because we know that game. And I think a lot of business owners are still kind of, still hanging out with the SEO crowd, if you will, and doing the SEO work. But I think slowly and surely people are going to be coming over. And if we're ahead of the curve, if we're way before everyone else, I think that'll make a difference down the road, because we hit SEO here at vastsolutionsgroup.com way late, because for whatever reason we were media shy, etc. But now I know that we're going to be able to be caught up and ahead of the curve because we're doing the AEO. And I think it's important for business owners now to go down that path, especially ones who are media shy or who were media shy.
I'm going to make an assumption here, Kenner, and I apologize if I'm off about this, but I want to, something you just said picked up on something I want to throw into the conversation, which was, you were late to the party on SEO. And I'm going to guess that you were late to the party because as business owners, we're getting hit all the time with new technology. Do the SEO, do the SEM, on page, off page optimization. What are you doing on social? There's a new social platform. Are you on TikTok? And if you're someone who's excellent at running a business, you are not someone by definition who's excellent at all these other media and awareness things. And it's a lot of, forget about the time overhead. It's just cognitive overhead. What's the latest and greatest? What do I have to worry about? And I think we who, can find ourselves in the consulting class, and a lot of times need to be really, really sensitive to the fact that amazing business owners are amazing because they are subject matter experts in what their business is. And that could be chains of car washes or laundromats, or it could be developing multifamily real estate. There's a whole range. So, we want to make sure that we're being very thoughtful around the choices that we're advising these folks to make. And similarly to, if you're listening to this and you are a business owner, you don't have to go all in on everything all the time. But what you should be doing is taking 5%, 10% of your week, at least from a time perspective, and playing around with these things. Most of them you can play around with for little to no money. And when I say little to no money, I mean literally like maybe you spend $100 on some ads or something like that, or you go to Fiverr and you have someone do some creative or stuff like that, or you just do it for free on your own with Canva. But learn the dynamic and learn how the specific tools are relevant to your business. Because at the end of the day, unless you're a media guy, media gal, none of us are in the business of media. We're in the business of satisfying our customers with the products that we are excellent at.
Yeah. Wow. Let me answer that. By the way, your assumption was totally wrong. I was media shy because I'm embarrassed to say this, but I've said it before and I'll say it, I guess, a little bit more specifically to the situation. I thought it was too cool to do marketing. I hate to say that, but it's very true. I thought, I don't want to do marketing. I don't want to do SEO. I knew the business was coming to me. Luckily, we've been able to be pretty good at getting referrals. But at the same time, it's hard to scale based on referrals. So it really didn't work. Now it's hit me that there's really two components of a business: one, marketing, and then one research and development, or specifically on services and products research and development. You have to have those two things. You can have the greatest products and services based on the research and development, but if no one knows about it, it doesn't matter. And you can have everyone talking about all the great, stuff you have, but if you don't have products or research based on research and development, nothing's going to happen. And I admit I was totally wrong. Now I'm shifting. Now I think it's vital to have a marketing person kind of to make your funnel big, and then also have a good product and service down below that, if you will. And I think more than ever, I understand the value of someone who's going to bring in a marketing person, because just like you said, most business owners aren't good with media, right? And they're not media studs, if you will. And that's very important to have a big funnel to provide down the road gross and then net income. So that was my issue. I was too proud. I thought it was too cool. I don't need marketing. It'll just all work out, but you can't scale it. I finally figured that out. It took me years to figure that out, by the way. So that answers your point about that assumption, but I like that you were giving me credit though there.
No, I mean, look, I've known for a long time you're a little bit of a sissy, but I wasn't comfortable bringing it up.
I
But,
can fully admit it. Speaking of being a sissy, so wait a minute. So you have a presentation here. I don't know if you could talk about it or not, but you don't have a funnel, speaking of marketing. So let's talk about you a little bit. What's your deal there? And you know exactly what I mean.
wow, so you're turning the spotlight on me, huh, Kenner? Yeah,
I am, ladies and gentlemen. Yep.
who gives the cobblers children's shoes?
Yeah, there you go.
So here's the deal. I left the great consultancy McKinsey and Company at the end of this summer for some really personal reasons, mostly around the fact that I like to be in the thick of of my clients' businesses, and actually, or my own businesses, and actually see the ideas and strategies come to life in the market and adjust them based on real world marketing.
Which gives you massive credibility by that. I love that, by the way.
Yeah, it's I appreciate that. It's and don't get me wrong, the folks at McKinsey do amazing work, but they are constitutionally a little bit different than where I find myself. And I just like being in the mix. It's the only way to put it. It's just a personal preference. And so I am blessed to have two amazing kids, and so an amazing wife. So took the fall just to sort of hang out with them, kind of decompress from what is a very rigorous lifestyle at the firm. And I'm in the process right now of figuring out how I get back to sort of a lowercase c consulting life. And I want to be really clear. I tend to use this phrase a lot: uppercase C consulting versus lowercase c consulting. Uppercase C consulting is what McKinsey and Boston Consulting Group and the Bains of the world do, right? Incredibly smart people working incredibly hard to deliver high-level strategies to the titans of global business. Lowercase c consulting, for me, what I mean by that when I say that is that individual practitioner or small group of practitioners in a small firm who are not just about delivering the strategy, but become business partners to their clients, and work shoulder to shoulder with them with a degree of accountability around what they're delivering at the lowest levels of the business, and who are willing to stick it out and fine tune those strategies with them as they evolve. Like I said at the top of our conversation, we all have one boss, right? And that's our customer. And she's going to decide where we are in the world. And you can do all the research you want. You can talk to a lot of people. You can pull things out and synthesize and make really great recommendations. But as my Golden Arches client said once, it's not real till it's real in the restaurant. And those strategies aren't real until they're real in the field and you see how the customer's actually responding to them. And that gets me super jazzed. And so this has been a long-winded way of me evading your original question.
You did a great job of that, dude.
Don't forget, I'm a consultant.
Don't
forget I'm a consultant. So, but no, I think I am starting to gin up the machine again. And I think one of the things that, marketing, you always should be leaning into the places where you're really great, and if your business is about delivering specific returns, putting out your stats. For me, I like to share my knowledge. So I've got some speaking gigs coming up. I'm starting to revamp my website so that it's easy to find me and sort of, hear the things I have to say. I have no interest in putting up a site that says, these are the 20 services we offer. Call us for any one of those. Yeah, I'm smart. I also don't think I have too much of an ego. So I'm going to help you with what I can help you with. And I'm also going to find the best people I possibly can to help you with the things I know that I'm not good at.
Yeah, the way I look at it, you're in a perfect spot. You're like, you've been at W2 basically, for a while with McKinsey, et cetera, and you have amassed mass knowledge of marketing, et cetera. Well beyond your years, I would say. And at the same time, I think you probably have a pretty good following. You have some speaking gigs coming up. So I would think you'd be able to turn on the spigot pretty easily to new business. In my opinion, all you have to do is, if you're speaking to 200 people, say, here, go to my website, get my free, whatever it is, free guide. And then people go into your funnel, and then that becomes passive income because you put together a SaaS system for them. I think what you've got going is going to be pretty easy to turn on income down the road.
I think it is. I think it just requires someone to do it. And that someone obviously is me. It's not something you can outsource. But I'll be honest, I'm at a place in my professional life where I value the exploration. I know you mentioned to me that you're on a research sabbatical, taking some time until early March. And I would say that I'm not in a dissimilar place. I haven't formally declared that I'm on a sabbatical in the same way that you have, but I am being very deliberate about what I do and how I do it. Because ultimately I want to, I need to earn for my family, right? That's, sort of one. And two, I need to feel like I'm making impact in what I'm doing. And there's a lot of stuff out there. People, my resume is such that I've got enough shiny names on it that people want to talk to me. Right. But I also don't really have a lot of interest in moving paper from one side of the table to another. Yeah. Right. So I'm really being thoughtful about it. I mentioned, I think, to you when we were speaking before the pub, I put up 3 LinkedIn posts earlier last week, just around topics that people know me for, and and not even saying anything incendiary, just sort of offering some commentary or around things. And I was having lunch with a new business partner by Friday because those posts generated some interest, and so I bet you Jason could help me with this. So
I think that's big, by the way. Just, not to delve into your past or your background or your future, you specifically, but that's a general statement on being an authority. If people are out there doing posts, I think that will get eyeballs, and then who knows, you could get, just like you're getting a potential deal from it. A lot of things happen when people are doing one social media post and then also writing authoritative content.
Yeah, I've got a really good friend, former McKinsey colleague, who has a very robust consulting business around a very specific topic area that he is well known for. And his entire high funnel effort is on LinkedIn. He writes and posts regularly on it and is deeply engaged in a public conversation on his area of expertise and his topic regularly. And that just drives his network, it drives his speaking opportunities, and it drives his top line. And it all, for him, for this individual, it all starts on LinkedIn and his engagement with his community.
Well, and what do you think of LinkedIn as far as marketing? I know you're going to say it depends on the business, but what do you think is the best social media, platform for each type of business? And I'm going to leave that.
I'm going to say something that no one will really disagree with. Most social media is a dumpster fire, right? And I put LinkedIn in that as well. And LinkedIn's a different flavor of dumpster fire than some of the others. That said, I think it is the only vehicle we have today as business people to exchange thoughtful ideas around the topics that we're all thinking about.
Totally, I agree with you.
Like any other social media, it can become a rabbit hole where you spend way too much time and there's way too much noise. But as you cultivate a community, as you put thoughtful things out there, you will generate people. You will generate a community of followers and people who are interested in what you're saying. And it's a necessary evil. One of the things that I'm very interested in these days is the live events business. And, in conversation with a couple of folks who in the live events business. And as I do my due diligence around it, what I'm hearing from so many people in the small business finance community, in private equity circles, is that we are going to be seeing a massive rebound of face-to-face business over the next decade for a couple factors, right? One, go back to social media as a dumpster fire. Like, you don't know what to do there because there's so much noise. Two, a continued COVID rebound. We don't know, people don't like being in isolation.
No.
And then three, all these RTO mandates. Some will hold, some will not. But at the end of the day, I think that people are going to be drawn to doing work in person and, taking the measure of the individual, right? Like, if I don't know how about you, but I get 5 or 6 in-mails a day from people who want to do business with me or learn about this or do that. What? I don't have time for any of that. But if I meet you at the floor of a conference in Anaheim or Ann Arbor or London or Singapore, and we talk and we build a rapport, of course I'm going to do business with you because now I've gotten to know you. And, that doesn't have to be deep. It doesn't have to be we become besties, but I've shaken your hand. I've seen that you're real. There's a business there to be done and we've got aligned interests. Now let's do it. So I think getting out in the world and being live is as important in your community building these days as LinkedIn. And we have to remember these things are the ones that really enable that because they let us get out there. I can go to Singapore tomorrow if I needed to, and time zone differences aside, whatever, but I can stay as connected to my business from there as I can anywhere else. And at the same time, I'm meeting real live human beings with whom I might do more business in the future.
Yeah, what I would say is I think now the new currency is attention. And I think at the top of the funnel would be a marketing guy like you, if you will, online, social media and online, and then coming all the way down to the bottom of the funnel, which is in person. But I think it takes a lot to get there because we're a nationwide company. I live on Bainbridge Island, but we have clients all over the country. But I think it's a lot of work to get people in the funnel, by the way. But down at the end of the funnel is we're going to have 2 different live events during the year, but it's a lot of work. But at the same time, when we get that person to an event, let's say in Palm Beach on October 2nd, like we're going to be doing in Florida, that's when I know those people are really serious about our community. And I know that they're willing to pay a little bit more, as an example, because they're paying their time to fly from, let's say, California to Palm Beach. That all being said, I think still social media, it's a vital component because nowadays people need to see your name, your face a lot more. And then it drives all the way down to in-person events. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. So think of it this way, right? Social media gets your attention.
Yeah.
Community converts attention to intention.
Yeah.
And then in-person events convert intention to execution.
Yeah.
And that's how it works.
And that if someone's gonna be in that in-person event, they're gonna be with you a lot longer. They're also gonna tell more referrals, et cetera, et cetera. Well, you said that. Can you say that again? I like that. Say that one more time.
Social media gets your attention. Community is going to convert that attention into intention. And then the live in-person event is going to convert that intention into execution.
Yeah. Dude.
Or retention, if you want to keep going with the shun.
Or retention. I would say retention, because to us, people staying around longer as a client means more than anything to us. Plus, because they're going to give us referrals, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I'm still workshopping the words here, Kenner. So I'm glad to have you as a co-author on this.
I like it. All right, we've been on here for about 38 minutes. So
that's right, and I gotta leave. I gotta be at the FBO in 10 minutes. Wheels up. So
you cut out, but I'm sure it was a great comment.
I was just saying that I got to be over at the FBO in 15 minutes. We're wheels up. So,
all right. How about this? Why don't we get? How about one last time? How does someone get in touch with the great Jason Hackett?
Best way to hit me is Jason at Hackett, HACKETT.NYC.com. Respond to that pretty quickly. You can also find me at LinkedIn/Jason Hackett, and on the gram at therealJasonHackett.com.
Kids,
My name is right there. Boom, 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 boom.
There
And
you
this
go,
lovely lavender.
kids, this was a special one. Jason's a good guy. I've known him for a while. I trust him. He's smart. He'll help your business. I can pretty much promise you that. Once again, this is Kenneth French, Vast Voice, telling business secrets to entrepreneurs. Kenneth French with VastSolutionsGroup.com. Thanks, everybody.